Our journey begins with a heart-rending loss. King Saul and his son Jonathan fell in battle, a news that shakes young David to his core. Both Saul and Jonathan held significant places in David's life. Saul, though often at odds with David, was his king, his mentor, and his father-in-law. Jonathan, on the other hand, was more than a friend to David. Their bond transcended mere friendship, embodying a covenant of brotherly love and mutual respect. David's heart aches as he mourns the loss of these two pivotal figures in his life. His lament is deep, sincere, and poetic, reflecting his profound sorrow and respect for the fallen. Amidst this sorrow, an Amalekite comes forth, claiming to have dealt the death blow to Saul. But far from rewarding him, David sees this act as a treasonous crime against God's anointed king. David's grief is profound, marking the end of an era and the beginning of his own path to kingship. David's journey to kingship begins in earnest as he is anointed king over Judah. But the road to unity is fraught with challenges. In the ancient city of Hebron, David is anointed king over Judah, the southern tribe loyal to his cause. This moment marks the beginning of his 7-year rule over this tribe, a critical stepping stone on his path to kingship over all Israel. However, the path to unity isn't straightforward. The rest of Israel, the northern tribes, rally around Saul's remaining son, Ishbosheth, who is declared king. This division in the kingdom sets the stage for a complex power struggle, a struggle that will test David's leadership and resolve. David's rule over Judah is not without its challenges. The division of the kingdom fuels a long and bitter civil war, with the house of David and the house of Saul locked in a fierce power struggle. The next several years are marked by a series of battles and skirmishes, as each side seeks to gain the upper hand. Yet, even in the midst of this conflict, David's strength as a leader begins to shine. His rule is marked by fairness and justice, earning him the respect and loyalty of his subjects in Judah. David's leadership stands in stark contrast to the chaos and instability that plagues the northern tribes under Ishbosheth's rule. Despite the ongoing war and the division of the kingdom, David's power continues to grow. His victories on the battlefield strengthen his position, and his reputation as a just and capable leader begins to spread. The stage is set for David to extend his rule beyond Judah, paving the way for a united kingdom under his leadership. In the face of adversity, David's strength and leadership begin to shine, setting the stage for a united kingdom. The trials and tribulations of his early reign only serve to prepare him for the challenges and triumphs that lie ahead in his journey to kingship over all Israel. The war between the houses of David and Saul escalates, but a surprising turn of events shifts the balance of power. For years, the nation was divided, with bitter conflict raging between the house of David, ruling from Hebron, and the house of Saul, led by Saul's son Ishbosheth, reigning from the north. The landscape was a chessboard of shifting allegiances and bloody battles, a testament to a kingdom torn by civil strife. Now enters Abner, the very pillar of Saul's military might. The seasoned general, once a loyal champion of Saul's cause, found himself at odds with Ishbosheth. A disagreement turned into a bitter fallout, and the scales of loyalty began to tip. In a shocking turn of events, Abner defected. He left the house of Saul, crossed the battle lines, and pledged his sword to David. This was no small thing. Abner's allegiance carried weight, and his shift in loyalty was a significant blow to Ishbosheth's rule. But why would Abner, once so loyal to Saul, betray Ishbosheth? What could prompt such a drastic change of heart? It seems the seeds of betrayal were sown by a combination of personal pride and political pragmatism. Abner saw in David a stronger, more capable leader, one who could truly unite the fragmented tribes of Israel. And so, with Abner's defection, the tide of the war began to turn. David's strength grew, his rule expanded, reaching out to the tribes who had once opposed him. His influence, bolstered by Abner's support, began to unite the fractured nation. Yet this period of war and betrayal was not without its costs. The path to a united Israel was steeped in blood and treachery. Still, David pressed on, driven by a vision of a united kingdom under his rule. David's strength grows with each passing day, bringing him ever closer to ruling a united Israel. The final blow to Saul's dynasty comes not from David, but from within. Ishbosheth, Saul's son and rival to David, meets a tragic end. In an act of treachery, his own captains turn against him, assassinating him in his bed. This shocking event marks the end of Saul's lineage, and with it, any claim to the throne. David, upon hearing this news, does not rejoice. Instead, he reacts with righteous indignation. For him, this act of treachery is not a cause for celebration, but a crime deserving of punishment. He orders the execution of Ishbosheth's assassins, a clear signal of his commitment to justice and the sanctity of God's anointed. With justice served, David stands unopposed, ready to claim his place as the king of a united Israel. He steps into the void left by Saul's line, not by force or deceit, but with a sense of divine destiny and a commitment to righteousness. David's moment has arrived. He is anointed king over all Israel and sets his sights on a city that will become synonymous with his reign, Jerusalem. The shepherd boy, once anointed by Samuel in secret, now steps into the fullness of his calling, adorned with the crown of a united kingdom. David's ascension to the throne of all Israel marks a pivotal point in biblical history. This is not a mere change of leadership. It's the dawn of a new era. The fragmented tribes, once divided between the houses of Saul and David, now rally under one banner. David's choice of Jerusalem as his capital is strategic and symbolic. This city, nestled in the heartland of the territory, is a neutral ground, a place untainted by the memories of Saul's reign. Conquering Jerusalem, an erstwhile Jebusite stronghold, David sends a clear message. He's not just a king of Judah or a successor to Saul. He's a ruler for all Israel. But David's vision extends beyond political consolidation. His heart beats for something more profound, the spiritual unity of his people. This desire manifests in a grand gesture as he moves the Ark of the Covenant into his newly established capital. The Ark, a symbol of God's presence and favor, had been neglected during Saul's reign. By bringing it to Jerusalem, David not only reclaims the nation's spiritual heritage, but also places worship of Yahweh at the heart of national life. David's coronation, the capture of Jerusalem, the return of the Ark. These events are more than just historical milestones. They're threads in a larger tapestry, a divine saga unfolding. Under David's reign, Israel is not just a collection of tribes, but a kingdom. Not just a political entity, but a covenant community. David's reign marks a new beginning for Israel, a united kingdom under a strong and righteous leader. The shepherd boy from Bethlehem has become the shepherd king of Israel, uniting the people not just under his rule, but under God's covenant. With the ark safely in Jerusalem, David receives a divine promise that will shape the future of Israel and his own dynasty. David's leadership had been tested through a series of victories and losses, but it was his faith that truly defined his reign. The Ark of the Covenant, a symbol of God's presence and favor, was now in Jerusalem, marking a new beginning for the nation. But its journey to the capital had not been without tragedy. Uzzah, a man who had tried to steady the ark when the oxen carrying it stumbled, was struck down by God for his irreverence. This incident shocked David, causing him to question his actions. Yet, David chose to learn from this. He understood that reverence for God meant more than just enthusiastic celebrations. It also meant respect for God's holiness and obedience to his commands. When the ark was transported again, it was done with careful adherence to God's instructions. This time, the journey was completed without incident, and David, dressed in a simple linen ephod, danced with all his might before the Lord, showing his joy and humility. As David settled into his role as king, he contemplated building a temple for the ark. However, God, through the prophet Nathan, revealed a different plan. Instead of David building a house for God, God promised to establish a house for David, a dynasty that would endure forever. This covenant, known as the Davidic covenant, was an unconditional promise from God, assuring David that his throne would be established forever through his descendants, a prophecy fulfilled in the everlasting kingship of Jesus Christ. David's response to God's promise was one of humility and gratitude. He sat before the Lord, acknowledging his unworthiness and God's greatness. This humility, along with his courage and faith, were the qualities that made David a man after God's own heart. David's early reign is marked by triumphs and trials, both personal and national. But through it all, he remains a man after God's own heart.